Hello, everyone. My name is Jayne Levy, as Zach mentioned. I am VP of Communications at Unity Road. I've been in franchising for a dozen years now, cannabis for 3, and since joining cannabis, the industry has grown by $20 billion. It's been extremely exciting to watch it transform. Looking forward to sharing with you guys, our friends in franchising, all about franchising's hottest new industry. So let's spark it up. Here's our obligatory disclaimer slide. We're publicly traded, so I'm going to probably share something forward-looking. All right, so starting at the top, our parent company is Item 9 Labs Corp., publicly traded on the OTC under the ticker INLB, and there's an innovation I'll get to in a little bit, so don't want to spill the secret sauce, but we're vertically integrated with an award-winning premium product brand called Item 9 Labs. We launched our franchise opportunity in 2018 as One Cannabis. In 2019, we rebranded to Unity Road, and today we have a shop open in Boulder, another in the northwest suburbs of Denver that will be opening in the next couple months, and then another in Oklahoma that is just starting the rebrand process. All told, we have 20 partners across the U.S. who are developing our brand across 9 states. And the reason we got to where we are today is because of our tremendously amazing team of both cannabis and franchise industry professionals. We have a collective 120 years in cannabis and more than 60 years in franchising. On the franchise side, you might know our Chief Franchise Officer, Mike Weinberger. He was from Kahala Brands and Maui Wowie. We also have Justin Livingston, our VP of Franchise Development. He was from Maui Wowie, Coyote Ugly, and several other brands. As for me, shout out to Fishman PR. I had the pleasure of being with Franchising's leading PR agency for 9 years before joining Unity Road. And our greatest innovation, as you guessed, is cannabis. We are the first to bring the cannabis dispensary franchise model to the U.S. on a national scale. We are also the very first plant-touching cannabis concept to become members of the IFA, which is huge. We are very excited for that. I'm going to go out for my CFE this year. I'm looking forward to IFA in a couple of weeks. And while you don't see more concepts franchising in cannabis, there are definitely some coming. We have competitors coming up. We welcome them. But it's because you really need that intimate knowledge of both franchising and cannabis in order to do it the right way, to navigate the complexities. That's way to describe it is it's international franchising, basically. Every state is like a different country. You have cannabis that's federally illegal. Each state also has their own rules and regulations, and then you also have on top of that franchising that's regulated. So it really takes that intimate knowledge of both in order to effectively franchise in the industry. Here's a look at our U.S. legal cannabis forecast. So when we launched our franchise opportunity in 2018, the industry was only doing $6 billion a year. By 2020, it grew to $18 billion. Last year, we broke $25 billion. And by 2026, we're going to see upwards of $50 billion. Currently, there are 36 states where cannabis is legal for medicinal use, and then there's 18 states where it's legal for adult use or recreational consumption. And this is all on the rise for us. Being deemed essential during the pandemic was pivotal for the cannabis industry. It opened people's eyes to the medicinal values of cannabis, seeing it as an alternative to traditional medicines. And then the states, too, they were like, oh, my God, look at all this local tax revenue money coming in. They loved it. We have states like Illinois where the tax revenue from cannabis has been surpassing alcohol tax revenues over the past couple of months. So it's really exciting to see it all transform. Another point to make here, too, is that the industry employs an estimated 321,000 people, and this number is still, I think, 50 to 100K on the low end. It's much higher than that. At our company, we're hiring 5-10 people a month. We're going to be hiring another 70 by the end of April to meet the demand. And then this slide gives a really good look at the adult use or recreational cannabis forecast, and we have 141 million Americans, that's 43% of the population, live in just those 18 states where cannabis is legal for adult use consumption. And it's only going to rise. You can see in the chart how We're adding 3 to 5 states every year. We have 68% of Americans in the US are favoring legalization. So we're seeing more states filing ballots. We're seeing more groups getting signatures out there promoting legalization. Another really good point on this slide is that in the Northeast, that's 16% of the population for adult use that hasn't been tapped yet. So a lot of the Northeastern states are medicinal only. Once those pop, those sales forecast numbers are just going to skyrocket. Now, I've walked you through the forecasting, growth of cannabis. Here's a look at cannabis retail today. So it's primarily made up of both independent single unit operators, and at the same side, you have gigantic multi-unit state operators, or what we call MSOs. And cannabis is complicated. It's really hard for these little guys to go up against these gigantics who have conglomerates of teams that are experts in accounting, marketing, advertising, compliance. They have go-to teams that they can connect with to grow their business, but the independents, they're struggling to make, not struggling, it's very profitable. You make like $3 to $5 million a year. Some states are 7 million plus, but you still have to stay on top of the day-to-day operations. Meanwhile, regulations changing left and right. So it's really hard for those independent guys. And then two, this store is a prime example of the landscape in general. The retail stores, they look vastly different. This is an example of a store you might see in a more mature market or a market like Oklahoma where they're kind of loosey-goosey. Their rules aren't as tight-knit as other states. But this is what we call a deli-style approach. It's kind of like as if you're just going to go buy lunch meat. You go up to the counter, tell them what you want. You won't be able to get a sample, but they'll let you smell the flower before taking it home with you. In newer states like California, Illinois, Michigan, you see stores that are much different, kind of like our Unity Road, which is bright, inviting, welcoming. We have a much different shopping experience. You come through our stores, you have knowledgeable team members right there at your fingertips to guide you through to figure out what product you want, what product you need, what do you want to do at the end of the day, and to make sure, too, first and foremost, that you have a good experience with cannabis, that you're not getting too high at the end of the day and not having a great experience and then never trying it again. We want you to have a great experience. We want you to be educated on it. And why we are the perfect match. So everyone here knows franchising inside and out. Cannabis needs us. Cannabis needs the stabilization of a franchise model. It needs the structure, the systems, the SOPs, the support network. It's the only way that local independent operators are going to compete against these MSOs. And important to note here is that regardless of your professional background, opening a dispensary is completely different. Even if you've opened several businesses before, wildly different. You can make costly mistakes that cost tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars and can cripple your business before it even gets off the ground. Another thing to note with franchising, social equity is a big component that a lot of states are still trying to figure out. No state has really done it right yet, but a lot of the big problems there lies in they're trying to create opportunities for those disadvantaged by the war on drugs, and they're opening up specific licenses just for social equity applicants, but you can't just hand someone a dispensary license and expect them to know how to operate a dispensary. You need the guidance, the network, the resources, all the SOPs that franchising gives you. So franchising is really that answer to help social equity applicants be successful in the industry. Unity Road is that intersection where cannabis meets local business ownership, and franchising is really what makes it possible. Our team's made the mistakes. We have our SOPs built out from operating dispensaries across multiple states. We're there giving our partners what they need to be compliant first and then successful. If you're not compliant, success doesn't matter. It'll catch up with you. But first and foremost, you have to be compliant. All right, so here is a look at our current Unity Road footprint. As I mentioned before, we have 20 partners who are across 9 different states. It's a little challenging to pinpoint all the states. A couple of them are looking at multiple markets, but we do have in Ohio, Illinois, Maine, South Dakota, where we're waiting to hear back if our franchise partner has won a license. You also have New Mexico, where we just submitted a dispensary application. And what's great about our partners is that they come from all walks of life. There's no really defining characteristic. When you have your ideal franchise development candidate, usually you can pinpoint and figure out the demographics that they all fall into. Ours don't, but the one characteristic they do is that they want to be pioneers. They want to be the first in their state to open a dispensary, and they want to ride that wave from the bottom up to the top. And they know they can't do it alone. They know they need a partner, and that's why Unity Road is such a good fit for them. And then another point here to make is that it's challenging to pinpoint out our timeline for new store openings. We have it all laid out, but the length of time, the key deciding factor there is how long it takes to secure a dispensary license. So it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, could be a year, 2 years, but we help our franchise partners from the very start. So as soon as they sign that franchise agreement with us, we're helping them, whether it's applying for a dispensary within the state or acquiring an existing business. So which either route they go with, we're there guiding them along the way. And then at Unity Road, our mission is to inspire confidence in the benefits of cannabis for all. That goes across from our guests to our investors, our franchise partners, all across the board. And one way we're doing that too is by keeping cannabis in the hands of local entrepreneurs. We have 2 programs that we developed in 2021 to help us really, besides just the franchise model and our franchise offering, but a way to give back and to further accelerate our footprint. And one is the Local Alliance program. So it's like a traditional franchise conversion program, but gave it a fancy name to make it a little bit more attractive to these independent operators who are pouring their life, blood, sweat, tears into their dispensaries, and reframed it up for them. And that program, we actually just signed our first agreement there in Oklahoma City last week. So that's pretty exciting for our team. What's really great too, it's the only way where they get support. They get the network, the supportive network of franchising. They get the SOPs, everything, and they still maintain their business license and then also their dispensary. So it's a really great program. And then the other new innovation we have, you can kind of figure it out, National Dispensary Acquisition Plan. It's what you think it is. We're going out there as corporate, acquiring dispensaries, converting them to Unity Road shops, retraining the team, operating them, and then once the business gets to a point where we feel confident we can just pass it off to the next, we'll sell it to either an existing or a prospective Unity Road franchise partner. So at the end of the day, we're taking the brunt of the whole franchise conversion, and it's a turnkey solution for the next person to get into cannabis. So we're keeping dispensary ownership in the hands of local entrepreneurs, easing the hurdles, and it's the easiest way for anybody to get into cannabis. You don't see anything like it. And our last innovation. So as I previously mentioned, we're with Item Labs Corp. We merged with them in March 2021 and created the very first vertically integrated cannabis dispensary franchise. And with that, as the Unity Road franchise network grows, we'll bring Item 9 Labs products and other brands that we eventually acquire to those markets. And then that way, our franchise partners get direct access to a premium award-winning supply chain. Supply chain is extremely challenging in cannabis, always supply chain issues, and that's one way where we're able to alleviate it. And then also, too, franchising, consumers expect product consistency from state to state when they go to different stores when you're a franchise. And so with this, we're alleviating that. Product can't cross state lines. We're bringing our products to where our franchisees are. Another point here too, we have 2 other assets called dispensary permits, dispensary templates. Those are leading online business sites for cannabis regulations, dispensary applications, just general cannabis business landscape. There are sites that we know our competitors are going to learn more about about the cannabis industry. And so with that, it's a tremendous lead flow channel for our Fran Dev team because we're able to, that audience already knows they want to open a cannabis business. They're buying our templates. They're learning about it. Unity Road's the long-term solution to give them what they need. That is it. That wraps it up. Thank you so much to Young Conference for having Unity Road out. And my phone number, email are there if anybody has any follow-up questions.
My name is Spencer. I have the honor of leading the marketing team for HTeaO. HTeaO is a tea, water, and ice franchise. Currently have 45 stores open, 60 under construction, 344 sold. So lots of rapid growth, and we sell iced tea. So we'll go ahead and start with the slide. Yes, we have 45 open, actually 44 open, 60 under construction, and then 344 sold, I believe. Yep. I'm in marketing, so I found a TikTok that kind of explains what our brand is, just so you guys can see.
Oklahoma. Let's get some tea. 22 flavors. Snacks too. Mix and match flavors. Sweet coconut for me. Add some fresh fruit. Gotta take some home too. There's even a drive-through. I'm hooked.
So all of our locations are standalone drive-through with the exception of 4. So we believe we are the Starbucks of iced tea. Previously, before Starbucks existed, you had to go to Denny's or a coffee shop to get coffee. They brought it to the drive-through concept. We do that with iced tea. We have lots of cool items in our store. So today we're going to talk about, we did an iceberg. So what we're going to talk about today is the effects of COVID on plastic. So our business model is very simple as far as tea, water, and ice. Obviously, you have a cup and a straw and a lid. All of that stuff's plastic. Well, we found out really quickly that plastic shortages happened across the nation because there was just a raw goods shortage. There's not plastic pellets. Transporting those plastic pellets was very challenging. Labor shortages, as far as at factories, they couldn't even make the cups. And then delivery shortages. So our food service providers couldn't actually deliver the cups. So we came up with some really interesting, unique items, innovations through this that deemed to be very, very successful. As far as a common solution, we saw normally stores just put up signs due to nationwide shortages. We don't have that specific item. Unfortunately, with us, with such a simple concept, having no cups is not an option. So that's something that we kind of dove into. So we're going to highlight 3 different items. And what I have here and why it's an iceberg is the tip of the iceberg is kind of what the public saw. And then underneath the iceberg is the innovations that we actually had internally. And I'll kind of go over those each as we start. The first problem we ran into was going to be a quart bottle. So this is one of our top sellers. In essence, what happened was dairy farms were at capacity. In essence, everyone was going to the grocery store buying milk. They were just trying to pump out as many bottles as they could. We sell, around Thanksgiving, we sold 70,000 gallons of tea. So we have to rely on dairy farms to produce those gallons. There's not really another use case except for us. There was also a shortage of the plastic lids that go on top. And then there was also a substantial price increase. So we had that quart bottle. But in essence, what we did was we actually introduced what's called a mini gallon. So we innovated the product. If you look at this product, it looks a little bit different. The first thing you'll notice is the size. So it's actually the same size as the quart bottle, but you'll notice it's not a clear plastic, it's a faded plastic, so it's substantially cheaper to produce, as well as the caps can also work on our gallons. So we limited one product. What was really cool about this, the guest perception of the value of this specific product was higher, so we were able to raise the price for this specific item to the standpoint where it's actually our most profitable item. We could also do a buy 3, get 1 free. So in essence, what we did was we had an old quart bottle. Unfortunately, due to supply chain issues, we got rid of that bottle, transitioned to a mini gallon, which in turn actually became one of our most profitable items, which is pretty cool. So that was one option or one innovation from plastic. The second one is going to be our plastic cups. So last year we served 7 million cups of tea. So we go through a lot of cups. And we had a big issue whenever they said, hey guys, you only have a 3-month supply left of cups. There's currently no plastic pellets to produce the cups. And don't really know how to help you because you have such high volumes. So that was pretty interesting to kind of run through. So we kept kind of innovating. What we learned was there was actually enough plastic pellets to create a 51-ounce cup. So I had a 3-month supply left of my 44-ounce cups, but I could get a hold of as many 51-ounce cups as we wanted to. So that's what we did. So we introduced a new product. Big just got bigger, and we introduced a 51-ounce cup. The marketing team, paired with operations, we actually ran a slight discount on that specific cup. So in doing that, most of the customers tended to buy the bigger cup because there was a slight discount on that, alleviating all the pressure of the 44-ounce cup. So that 3-month supply lasted 5 months, which actually we never ran out of a branded cup at any of our locations due to that innovation. Even cooler, what we learned through this innovation, we actually sold so many 51-ounce cups. We actually ran out of those cups, which is okay. But our customers, they definitely talked back, and now it's permanently on our menu as a huge. So through that innovation, we introduced a new product to limit the outages of one product, in turn finding a product that's actually substantially more profitable, especially we're a happy hour business. So from between 2 and 4, it's half price. But the cost of goods are very similar on a small to a large. The most expensive piece is the cup, the lid, and the straw. So if you have a bigger cup, you can charge more, but the cost of goods are very similar. And then the last innovation that we had pertaining to plastic was our menu board. So this was our old menu board. And what we learned very quickly through COVID, everyone had to have a plexiglass screen on their at every register, things like that. The problem is with our existing menu board, it's backlit, so the light has to actually shine through it. So you have to have plexiglass. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any plexiglass, and we're like, crap, prices have to go up. All this great stuff's happening. We have new product launches, things like that, but we couldn't actually communicate that to our customers. So we got hard at work just kind of innovating. What can we do to take it to the next step? So we actually designed a brand new menu board, and looks totally different, which was really cool. But the main differences here we want to highlight when it pertaining to plastic in particular, you'll see this is a front lit menu board. In essence, what that means is it's just a thick piece of plastic. Previously, anywhere between $300 to $500 to replace that menu board. We can replace a panel for $50 delivered to the store. And they can also be double-sided. So whenever you're on promotion, substantially cheaper. We also have the ability, we're living in that LTO phase, limited time offer phase, where we constantly have new ideas coming up. So we're able to do that with this specific board as well. We introduce combos, we introduce some additional things. So through doing that innovation, now we can put little fun promos like refer a friend, get a free tea, or our Christmas promo or Thanksgiving promo, things like that. But through that specific menu board plastic change, we were able to raise our average ticket price by over $1 in the drive-thru, which was really exciting for us. So that is kind of some of the innovations that we worked through pertaining to plastic for our specific business model, which is a little bit different or a little bit unique. And I guess the overview and kind of to highlight and bring all of this back to one thing, with each innovation, we raised our average ticket price. We served 5 million guests last year. We raised our average ticket from $550 to $650, which is substantial when you're serving that many guests at a location. Whenever you're seeing around 4,000 to 7,000 guests a week, can really affect the unit level pretty much affect the revenue and profitability of the store. The second thing is each innovation raised customer engagement. So we really focused on things that brought the brand to life. We introduced a new product. We re-engaged with those customers. What we were doing, we were marketing to them because we had to. So we leveraged this chaos to force marketing to our franchise or to our customers and growing the business. And then the last thing is each innovation increased unit level profitability. So each innovation was more profitable than the original innovation for our specific franchise partners. And I think that's obviously the most important thing for us. So overall, I guess the big takeaway that HTeaO always takes away, or what we take away from this now, kind of the innovational mindset would be do not fear disruptions, use them as a time to innovate while others panic. So we really leveraged that specific time for us when we were just ready to put a sign out that we're out of cups to here's a brand new product. And that was kind of our innovation from just a plastic side of things this year. And that is the innovation iceberg at HTeaO.
My name is Charles Kowanetz. I am the Senior Director of my EyeLab. We're a franchisor. We are in the value retail eye care space. So I think it's very fitting that I'm following a cannabis industry, because if you have glaucoma, you can come to our store and you can also go to your store. It's a similar problem. But I will. One thing that we've done in the past couple of years, post-pandemic, is really looked at our business model and answered the questions that you are all hearing. Labor shortages, et cetera. We've looked at our model and have come up with a post-pandemic business model to help our current franchisees and help sell more franchises. So, a little bit about my EyeLab. We are brick and mortar. We are a place to come in, get an eye exam, and buy glasses. We are in the value space, so we're not the most expensive place to buy glasses. We started franchising this concept at the end of 2017. Before our model started in 2013, we've had about 150 corporate stores. And the reason why we got into franchising is the eye care industry is really segmented. There's a ton of competitors out there, but there's not a lot of franchise competitors. You really have Pearl Vision. They're the number one. And one of the reasons why there are not that many franchises in the optical space is it's highly regulated, kind of like the cannabis industry, and the payroll is really high. Doctors are not cheap, and healthcare is pretty confusing. A lot of regulations, a lot of red tape. So we've taken the clinical and technical side of that model out, and what's left for our franchise partners are the retail side, which is a lot easier to manage than the clinical side. So right now, as we stand, we have 83 franchise locations open. We have 31 in development to open this year. So this year is going to be one of our best years in terms of store openings. And corporately, we have about 156 locations. So I believe it was Johnny Weber, he's right over there. He asked, if your franchise model is so great, why aren't you doing it yourself? We don't have that issue. We do it ourselves many times over. So our average unit right now does a little over 1.1 million in sales. If you're running it right, you should be at a 25 to 33% EBITDA. So the model that we've created for uncertain times, that's our biggest innovative thing that we've done, is really looked at our model and said, how can we continue to improve on what we already have in place, and what can we add to help support our franchisees in post-COVID reality? As I ask a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, franchisors, franchisees, what are the three things post-COVID that have been a struggle? We've heard it a lot today. Number one, labor costs. Hiring people is very difficult, and when you do find the right fit, they are a lot more expensive to hire than they were in the past, with rising minimum wage, et cetera. Number two would be supply chain issues. It's really difficult to get product, whether you're a brick and mortar, retail, service-based business. We've seen all disruptions of all those facets of our business. And then number three, the occupancy costs rise. We operate in a lot of states that are very desirable for business owners, such as Florida, Texas, Arizona, and some other states that are just seeing a tremendous amount of business growth. And we are brick and mortar. So we face the challenge of rising rents, hurt the bottom line. So what can we do to innovate and solve that problem? So the three solutions to those three major issues, number one is telehealth. That cuts down our labor costs, which I'll go into in a second. We've created an inventory management FF&E supply chain that our company does for our franchisees, which I will dive deeper. And then how do we combat rising occupancy costs? Well, let's just go where our competitors won't. Let's do a small town strategy. So I'll dive deeper into each one of those facets. Telehealth has always been a part of our business. You can't sell glasses unless someone has an active prescription. And how to get an active prescription is sit down and have an eye exam. That is the highest payroll item, or really the highest cost item in a traditional retailer like my EyeLab, Vision Works, Walmart Optical, et cetera, is hiring that doctor. Some businesses pay $150,000 to $200,000 a year for an optometrist, and there's a lot of regulations and red tape to go through for that. So we have created a telehealth eye exam system that allows us to share that doctor cost over the network of our stores. And the eye exam process is identical. The only thing we're doing differently is putting the doctor on the TV instead of in the room with you. So we've created a software that's able to control what is called a digital phoropter. It's that big metal clunky thing that the doctor is going to say, hey, which lens looks better, lens 1 or lens 2? So that's a digital phoropter. We can control that remotely. With the franchisors, we have our own company that has refractionists and optometrists that are going to be writing prescriptions. And it's a simple 3-step process, just like going to a Vision Works or a Pearl Vision. The first step is an intake form. So a customer comes into one of our stores and they say, hey, I need an eye exam. We take them to the back, the little clinical area, and they fill out an iPad that has past medical history, your contact info, and if you have insurance, you type in your insurance information there. Step 2 is called pre-testing. And pre-testing is 5 digital devices that the patient will put their eye up to that will measure and take pictures of the eye just to determine that your overall eyes are healthy. And that is the digital platform that sends all that data and pictures to an optometrist that's centrally located. And then the third step is telehealth. That's the eye exam part. This is called refraction. And we have 2 exam rooms in every single one of our stores. And a patient will sit down in the exam room, and on a television screen, one of our employees, a refractionist, shows up, and they're able to control the device in front of the patient's face and give an accurate reading on magnification. So I do understand most of your concepts, probably telehealth wouldn't make much sense to, but there's 3 solutions that telehealth for our model has solved, other than not having to hire a doctor, eliminating that payroll item, which is great. Number 2 is we're able to do an eye exam and service the customer at almost any hour of the day. Our optometrists are from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, so we can do an eye exam from 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. A typical Walmart optical, which would be our competitor, they might only be operating 20 hours a week because they share their optometrist over 2 or 3 locations. So if you don't have an active prescription, you're not buying glasses. In our model, the most profitable part of our business is selling glasses, so it's extremely important for us to be able to service the client. And then another cool innovation of telehealth is, well, we offer that eye exam in 3 different languages. Our refractionists, some speak Spanish, English obviously, and Portuguese. A lot of the states that we're going into, that's extremely important. It helps make the customer feel a lot more comfortable with our model. Now, on the fixtures, furniture, supply, equipment, supply chain issues, our solution is unique. So we own every aspect of the supply chain. In our stores, we have anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 different frames for a customer to try on and pick out. That franchisee does not have any inventory of those frames. They just have that showroom piece. So their cost of inventory is essentially a one-time purchase. We, the franchisor, we have the network to be able to buy all the frames, warehouse them, inventory them. And so when a franchisee sends an order to us, the glasses we make them, that franchisee is charged at that point for that cost of goods sold. So it's a really good cash flow model. But what it's helped us do in these supply chain issue errors that we're having is we're able corporately to buy as much pieces of glasses as we need to be able to service our franchisees, and they don't have to worry about shipping delays. They don't have to worry about containers off the coast of California that are coming in with their glasses. We kind of supplied, we've fixed that problem. Secondly, when we're selling a lot of franchises and opening a lot of franchises, it's been pretty difficult for a lot of concepts to get equipment, whether it just be simple things like plastic, or it's simple things like chairs. I remember in April of 2020, when the world was pretty much shut down, we all went back to Zoom. I had to take my webcam off of my computer at my office and ship it to a franchisee because we just couldn't get webcams. So at that point, we decided, how do we solve this? Our franchisees want to open, they want to innovate, they want to keep growing. How do we solve all of the supply chain issues? So we opened up a warehouse in Dallas, and we bought 55, if I'm not mistaken, 55 individual packages for new stores, or FF&E packages. So everything from the digital phoropter all the way down to the chairs that the patients will sit in. So we pre-purchased all of those store packages, so when a new franchisee comes to us and they want to open, the only thing we're waiting on is them finding a location, getting a lease signed, and starting construction. So we've eliminated that part from our business. The third common thing that's been happening post-pandemic that's really challenging for a lot of franchisees, doesn't matter what industry you're in, is the rise in occupancy cost. So we looked at our model, and the first generation of franchisees, we all rushed to the great markets that we know work really well, such as Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Southeast Florida, Orlando. Just your normal like bread and butter markets. So we looked at that and we saw a lot of success there, but occupancy cost was rising. I mean, these are states that are friendly to do business in. These are states that a lot of companies are moving to. So the retail landscape has been really competitive. So we looked at this and we said, out of all the technology and telehealth and all the cool things that we have, could this model work in a really small market? And really small markets are typically cheaper in rent, cheaper in payroll, because companies just pay less because there's less people that have to work there. And we also determined that these small markets are optical oases. I'm going to use air quotes here. But the only place to buy glasses in these small markets were typically a Walmart optical or your local mom and pop optometrist. So our competitors wouldn't go there. America's Best Glasses and Eyewear, that's our biggest competitor, they simply won't open up a location in Paris, Texas, right? Because they just can't find an optometrist to staff their store. We don't have that issue. We have our optometrists all over the country. So we can go to these smaller markets, and it solves a number of things for us. It's really good return because payroll is a little bit lower, your occupancy costs are significantly lower, and our competition is just either non-existent or we'd love to go across the street from a Walmart optical because we service our customers significantly better. And we have the hours of operation. We don't have to worry about shutting down our doors earlier or not being able to stay open later because of payroll and staffing. So we launched this to our current franchisees that are in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, and they loved it. Normally I wouldn't bring in a single unit operator in Paris, Texas for a small market unless they lived in there and had retail space or just drive for the brand. So we launched it to our Dallas-Fort Worth franchisees as a test. And one of the things we found is their EBITDA margins for the first year has been better than our bread and butter locations that are in normal markets that you would think, such as your Dallas-Fort Worth, your Houstons, your Phoenix, Arizonas. So just to recap, now our model is unique. Most franchise concepts don't have the need for telehealth, obviously, but what we've done with this telehealth platform is we've accented it and made it really a true part of our business to be able to eliminate payroll and solve a lot of the issues that we're currently facing. We've also taken on ourselves to invest in our franchise system to be able to supply all the fixtures, furniture, and equipment as soon as the franchisee wants. We never want supply chain issue to be a reason for our franchisees to not be able to open. We also never want supply chain issues to be a reason for our customer to not be able to get our product, because that looks terrible on our Net Promoter Score. And then the third thing to offset rising occupancy costs, we looked at our model and said, will this perform in some place that you would never go to with a major brand? And our small town market strategy has been really, really well for the last year. All in all, that's resulted in the past 2 years of really good growth. We started selling franchises pretty aggressively in April of 2020 until now. So, and obviously in the future. But right now we have just over 105 units sold in the last 2 years. Lots of development coming in 2022 and 2023. We're looking to double the system. So within the next 3 years, we should be right around 300 units owned and operated by franchisees. So that is all. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to take this, we're going to hand it over to the judges here, and they're going to ask some questions, and they're going to make their final decisions here.
I've got a question for Unity Road.
Yep.
Can you, you said you have 20 partners. I'm assuming that's franchisees. Is that accurate?
What was that?
20 partners, I'm assuming franchisees.
Yeah.
Do you have AUVs for those units?
Yes. Well, it's tricky to navigate. Our first shop that's open right now, it opened in, pandemic is a blur, but January 2021. And then we got it rebranded to Unity Road in June 2021. So it still hasn't really, we're just seeing the first year of sales since our franchise partner took it over. But it's still, our shops, that shop's a conversion. It's still, it's in Boulder, Colorado, if anyone's had the pleasure of doing retail there. It's still not what our beautiful Unity Road shop would look like. So it's hard to tell what that AUV will be from that one.
Do you have any idea for the cost, or you said you funded everything?
Our franchise partners do. So it cost at least $1 million to get in. We tell them you need anywhere from 1 to 2.5 million because you can't get a loan in cannabis. It's still federally illegal. You can bank in cannabis, contrary to popular belief. We've banked this entire time. We know how to do it. We got our franchise partners through it, but you can't get a loan. So you need all that money up front. You're not spending it all at once, but throughout the store opening process, you're spending it on legal for your dispensary application, real estate, security for compliance and stuff like that.
So it's like, would you say 50% of that is spent on compliance and legal and getting your license and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, a good chunk of it, and then the rest of it to inventory. When you start up day one, your shop needs to be fully stocked up. You have to pay for all that. Nothing's on credit cards. Everything is up front. But then our stores do see on average, we expect, depends on the market you're in, but they see anywhere from $5 to $7 million a year. Some markets might be more like 2 to 3 million, but you're able to recoup those costs pretty quickly compared to other concepts.
So a question I had is on your partnership with Item 9.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you hit on this, but like the appeal of a franchise is to be able to get a Big Mac or a Big Mac, right? You know, like wherever you go. So is that, would you say, solving the issue of like, so if I got an edible in Boulder and then I went to Oklahoma City, am I going to be able to get that same edible?
Ideally, eventually, it'll take a year or two to get there, but we're already looking for markets to bring the Item 9 Labs brand into. We expect to be in at least 2 new states by the end of this year. And so right now we're in Phoenix. Colorado's the next step. We'll probably be there this summer. And then we have a cultivation site in Nevada too that should be completed this April.
Ship out of those states.
No. The product can't cross state lines. So eventually it's going to take us at least a couple years or so before we're able to really have that product consistency. But our plan too, we just have Item 9 Labs right now for our product brand. Our plan is to expand more to other product lines. Item 9 Labs is just flower, vapes, concentrates. We're looking at edible brands, tinctures, drinkable, cannabis-infused drinks.
Jayne, if you really wanted to win this, you would have brought some free samples.
I know,
I'm just saying.
right?
But,
It's too bad it's only medicinal here.
cannabis is definitely a gold rush or
Green
a
rush.
green rush, right?
Yeah.
What makes you think cannabis is not going to follow the way of the casino boom when casinos were going to be in every state and they're not? And it just absolutely stopped. And 2/3 of the states still don't have legal gambling. So, and those that do, it's extremely limited to on water, et cetera, or in an Indian reservation. So why is cannabis not going to follow that same halt?
I think it's the medicinal value of it. There's so many benefits for cannabis that range from so many different diseases and supporting with symptoms. Our CEO, his mom was battling triple negative breast cancer and started using tinctures throughout her chemotherapy process. Now she's been cancer-free for 5 years. Cannabis is what helped her got through the night. Cannabis is what helped her have an appetite to eat. So I think really it's that medicinal value in people seeing that it's not just something for a fun night. You can go get high and have fun with your friends, but it also does help with different ailments that you might have.
With your conversion, so conversion, in my experience, is the great enigma of franchise development, right? So there's every carpet cleaning brand and home service brand has tried to convert people for years and years. What do you think is the biggest benefit? Because it's not brand recognition, right? No disrespect to your brand, but nobody knows what Unity Road is.
Yeah.
So what's your big pitch for me to switch over, Ryan's Cannabis Shop to a Unity Road?
It's getting that support system, getting that backing of a national franchise. It's being able to get out of the weeds and day-to-day of your business. And if you want to grow your independent dispensary to multiple locations, you can't do that on your own, most likely. You need having the support of the franchise network. We can help set you up for success and help you identify those other locations and expand beyond from just your one unit.
So Ryan raised a terrific question. Give us an example if you were to convert him to you guys. What would be the initial first benefit you would go after for that conversion as far as the sale?
And can I be a little more specific? Mm-hmm. So the biggest benefit in franchising
Microphone.
is the economy of... Sorry, one of the biggest benefits of franchising is the economy of scale. I pay 2 cents for a cup instead of 5 cups because we bought 55 million cups across the country. Since all of my product has to be sourced locally, I can't imagine. I mean, can you help me save on my product costs? Are my margins going to go up there, or where? Talk dollars and cents.
Yeah, so eventually, I mean, right now we have low units, but we're growing in specifically, luckily with cannabis, we can grow anywhere where it's medicinally or recreationally legal. So we have, for the local alliance program, key markets that we're focused on to do the franchise conversions. We're not going out to markets that are so off the board that we're like, I don't know if we're really going to grow a cluster of locations there. So we're focused on states like Michigan, Oklahoma, where we know there's potential to have, whether it's the franchise conversions or newcomers coming in, we know there's potential to build a good group there that we can give that supply chain benefit to our partners.
Jayne, low 7-figure investment, all cash, no loans. When's that going to change? That's a huge bottleneck. I mean, just restrictor to growth.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on behind the scenes. There's the Safe Banking Act that's trying to get approved, where it should open up some loan options to prospective dispensary owners. But yeah, right now that's our biggest hole. We'd have probably thousands of units right now if everybody that came to us wanting to open a dispensary franchise was financially capable and then also the right candidate. But that's the hurdle that we're up against. You can't get a loan. You can't do that out there. But we do see, before cannabis is federally legal, we do think that banking will happen and will be approved before then.
But will that happen in the next 2 years before Trump's reelected? Because, I don't know if that... Oh, sorry.
I think it probably would. Yeah, I think there's a good chance in the year ahead that we'll see something more favorable on the banking front.
And are the Z's all cash transactions too, where they're taking big loads of cash every day to the bank or to the truck out front?
Yeah. I mean, it's all in cash. We do have, you can operate through, like, we take debit cards. We don't do credit cards, but we'll take debit cards to handle the cash as well. But it's not like the olden days. We're not shuffling around backpacks full of cash. Our co-founder used to do that, but that was years ago. So it's much different now.
Not as cool.
I know,
Not
right?
as cool. It's green.
Yeah.
How are you getting Z's?
We got Justin Livingston there. We've got, he's talking to everyone. We have, yeah, right? It is our group of franchise brokers. That's one source area that's been really good to us. On the marketing front, PR, we've always done PR from the very, very beginning, which is why you see endless amounts of press releases from us anytime we can announce news, get in front of media, get in front of fine folks like you guys in franchising. We do that as well.
So I'm going to pivot to our tea company.
By the way, Jayne, you're dead to me. I always wanted to say that. Just a bucket list item. Thank you.
Yeah, let me real quick, tell us about your AUVs as far as your unit averages, and I'd like to know the cost of, as a new franchisee candidate, what would it cost me to develop one of your locations?
Yeah, great question. So our standalone AUV is about 1.2, and then our co-tenant would be 980. We only have 4 co-tenant locations. As far as getting open, that can vary. Lots of our franchise partners actually purchase the land as well. Anywhere between the outfit, to upgrades about $500,000, but can be anywhere between $500,000 to $1.5 million to get open. Usually the land's anywhere between, in some markets, $200,000 to $600,000.
Do you have an I-19?
We do not.
Do not. Get
Why?
an I-19.
Why not?
We've actually never spent any money on Fran Dev, and we've sold 344 units, and it's just kind of, we call it keeping it inside the Jeep. We have what we believe to be a very advantageous business model. We don't have a lot of direct competition yet, and we believe publishing that information would really cause a lot of competition to come.
So why did Starbucks gazillion billion-dollar company Teavana fail?
Why did Teavana fail? Great question. I would say I think the goal that Starbucks was going for was to get afternoon sales. And I think just looking at like Teavana was unique because you went there for tea and they really specialize in tea, where I feel like Starbucks just added like 1 or 2 tea drinks. So I feel like they didn't, like, I think they realized really quickly they had low AUVs kind of on their locations. And then they tried to bring it inside of Starbucks and offer like their tea drinks like they have now. And folks that like iced tea, we see that time and time again, they don't like coffee shops. It's a little bit different vibe, different customer. And I just don't think it correlated very well. I just think it was a bad idea. Yeah.
Are you going to continue advancing? The retail space. I've been to many of your stores, Dallas,
cool.
Texas based. We bought a Yeti from you. So are you going to continue to advance? I mean, you got Yeti at freaking Walmart now. So are you going to get rid of that, try to stay high end, or what's the future of retail?
Great question. So one of our competitive advantages as well, we actually own the supply chain. So we actually deliver all of the barcoded items to your specific store. As far as the scale of our retail currently, we're actually looking into co-packing because retail only has about a 25% profit margin. But we've sampled a whole bunch of different things, and we will be co-packing pretty soon. And then as well as like our tea, things like that. We produce that tea as well. So that's another competitive advantage of ours. If you think about it, like, it's really hard for competition to come against us just because, like, during Thanksgiving, we sold 70,000 gallons. If you look at it from like if you don't own the supply chain, a food service vendor, because they wanted to fire us, they won't deliver that many gallons because they're very cheap. They take up a lot of space on the truck, and it's not advantageous for them. So there's lots of things like that. Same thing as far as all the retail items. So we literally have tractor trailers that will go to milk farms to pick up bags of gallons and then stack them in our warehouse, and we'll deliver them to the store once a week.
You sell them to stores?
Correct. Yeah, we own the supply chain as well.
So in quick math, you guys last year were around $32.5 million, I guess, in brand sales? Based on your disclaimer of the slides?
I think we averaged probably 30 stores open, so yeah, right around 32.
Okay, and how much more revenue would you add to your brand with supply chain revenue?
Oh, that's a great question. As far as it's honestly extremely more profitable for us. 30% coming from our Fran Dev.
So 30% more from the $32 million?
I would say profit. Yeah, I think they profited anywhere between $5 and $6 million last year. Yeah.
And you've got a Texas theme to your logo. So, Spence, is that outside of Texas with the Texas logo?
Yeah, so our first location was actually in Lakeland, Florida, believe it or not, which is kind of interesting. So we use the Texas logo because we're Texas styled. I'm actually from North Carolina. Southern iced tea is very unique. Our flavored tea is very unique as well. It's sweet, but it's not super sweet. And that's kind of what we really go for, is that Texas style. It also is like a differentiator.
Talk to me about your franchisee adoption. So it seems like this is a really great excuse to be like, hey, we're changing things, and your franchisees just have to go along with it. But were they into like the mini gallon, or was it like, hey, we don't have another choice, this is what you're doing? I mean, how did you get them to adopt these changes, like with the menu board and that kind of stuff?
So we have an advisory council that we run everything through. We try to. We have a quarterly meeting with them, which is a lot of fun. They're awesome. They're elected by the franchise partners. Not necessarily a popularity contest for us. We have lots of great franchise partners, some that own 10 Orange Theories, some that own 50 or 60 Sonics. So we have a lot of experience from that front, which has been super helpful. As far as for these products coming, for mini gallons instance, we didn't really have an option. We either have nothing or for that. As far as for the menu boards, we leverage the ad fund and other revenue streams that we have with our vendor partners to actually offset that cost. It's usually about $6,000 for a menu board, and it only costs our franchise partners $2,000. So we partner with like Truvia, which is like a stevia sweetener for our iced tea. We sell so much, we're actually considered a large retailer. So they have a substantial ad fund. So anything that has their logo on it, they pay for. And then we have great vendor partners as well that they realized we were just struggling. Like we were in a bind for sure.
So when life gives you lemons, you make lemon flavored tea. A new logo, huh? A new slogan. How are you doing on real estate? You've got 300 and something sold, but 30 something open. So are you struggling there, or is it just a big growth?
That's definitely a hard part. So we have 60 locations secured as far as like lease signing. Lots of these are pad sites, or we have to sweep the site, so it can take anywhere between, especially with permitting right now is really slowing us down. But it can take anywhere from like when the franchise agreement's signed to open, sometimes even a year to get open. So that's definitely what's slowing us down for sure. But we plan on getting 60 more open this year. We already have the leases signed and construction started or in permitting.
Are these multi-unit? That's part of the reason they're
Yeah, so it's comprised of 150 franchise partners, or 100, Fran Dub's right here, so he'll know. So 140 franchise partners. We have lots of great franchise partners. Most franchise partners, we only allow like one in the beginning. What's interesting now, most of our franchise partners are existing franchise partners. So last month, over half of our new franchise agreements were existing franchise partners, because we don't want someone to go all in when they don't. We see that a lot. I do not believe so. Do we discount franchise fees? $5,000 less.
So, Spencer, I got a little bit clouded here on Red's question with your 60 signed.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said some were pads. How many of those 60 are brick and mortar pads to be developed?
Currently under construction right now, I think there's 40 under construction,
40.
and the rest would be in permitting.
And I'm sure you guys know and seen the HVAC 22, 26, 30 weeks out to get air conditioning. You've seen all that kind of. How are you managing that inflection with those 40 right now?
It's been challenging. We have 3 stores right now that are ready to open, but they don't have coolers because they're currently stuck. So we're just leveraging that time to what we call community marketing. So it's making our grand openings larger and larger. We've had our biggest grand openings literally 2 weeks ago with 2 openings, and we're leveraging that extra time to have the franchise partner get involved in that community. And it's the impact is actually we're actually. Another innovation we're learning because of this shortage. If we use this time wisely, we can really be effective. So now whenever your store is completely done, you have your CO, we actually don't open you for 2 full weeks. So you can community market for those 2 full weeks to the grand opening date. And then you'll have a line wrapped around your building. And
Spencer, on your pivoting, your innovation that you've gone through, encourage you to put it in a case study. This is fantastic. Really, really impressive.
cool. Thanks, guys.
If anyone has questions for me, just preemptively stand up here.
Yeah. So I got a couple. So on the telehealth, the flowploropter, whatever it was.
Phoropter.
Phoropter. There you go. I knew there's some opper in there. Are you guys? So you guys, did you develop that? Do you have an exclusivity with the people that did develop it? So what's to stop your competitors from starting?
Yeah, so the
to do
secret
that?
sauce, if you will, is the software that manipulates that digital phoropter. Digital phoropters are not new to us. Some of the best, ophthalmologist offices and optometrist offices, they use that. The only difference is they're sitting in the room with the patient manipulating the phoropter. Yeah. Right, we use that software that, my doctor can be in Atlanta, Georgia, and the store can be in Dallas, Texas, and as long as you have internet, you're able to control that phoropter. And we have offices. All of our optometrists are subcontractors, and so oftentimes it's retired optometrists that want to make extra money, or sometimes it's their full-time gig because COVID hit and they don't want to be in a room with 20 strangers a day. And then our refractionists, same thing. We have offices in many different time zones to be able to, gosh forbid, a hurricane hit Florida, we're able to shift that over to Texas.
So is it all walk-ins?
No, actually, a majority of our appointments are scheduled by the phone and then also online. And then about 20% of our business is walk-ins. We've centralized our call center. So if you were to call in my EyeLab, someone from one of our offices would be answering the phone and scheduling that eye exam for you. So we're able to, quality assurance. We have the script dialed in. The franchisee, their customers or their employees are not answering phones all day. They're just engaging with the customers that are coming in and selling them the glasses.
And what's an average wait for an appointment, would you say?
We don't have a.
I'm just trying to get at the other benefits of this, because if I call my eye doctor, I might not be able to get in for 6 weeks.
Yeah, not with us. We take a lot of traffic because it's being bounced off from other competitors in the space because they have to deal with that doctor schedule. For us, on your busy days, you might wait 5 or 10 minutes just for a refractionist to be available to jump online to be able to control the phoropter. But while there is that wait, we still do have the pre-testing, making sure there's no glaucoma, shooting that puff of air into your eyes. It's pretty uncomfortable. It's called a tonometer. So we do that outside of the room, kind of prepping for that refraction.
And then one other question. Define small market. I mean, you mentioned Paris, Texas, but when you're saying, what's like a population number you're looking at for this small market?
Yeah, so in a normal world, we would be looking for about 100 to 125,000 pop in a 10 or 15 minute drive time, 2 to 3 mile radius. With our market strat, smaller markets, we're 50,000 in a 15, 20, 25 minute drive time. Because I will say our customers in small markets, they have a little bit more. I'd say they're open to driving a little bit further. Yeah, it's normal for them to drive into town, if you will. So we're able to go a little bit larger.
So off of Ryan's question, the same market, Paris from Dallas, you mentioned on stage that there was a significant EBITDA between the two markets. By percentage, what was the better percentage growth of the small market versus what you just claimed to be in Dallas? And secondly, is that now going to be a forever growth plan with you guys?
Yep. So I'll answer your second question first. Definitely not a forever growth plan. We've done market optimization for our concept, and we've identified our specific customer, where they live and work, and we found out if we were to build a My EyeLab in every single market that can hold us, we'd have about 3,100 stores in the country. We'll knock out some of those states because they don't allow telehealth, et cetera, and regulations and whatnot. And we probably are not going to get to 3,100 because of cannibalization, et cetera. But we have many, many markets in major cities that we just haven't touched yet. Mainly because of cost of advertising. So for instance, Los Angeles, we can put 56 locations in LA as a designated marketing area, or DMA. We're not going to go there yet until we have a large partner, because purchasing advertising is very, very expensive in Los Angeles. So we have smaller, mid-sized DMAs like Houston, like Orlando, like Phoenix, et cetera, that we can go into with 10, 15 locations and have share of voice. The small market strategy is definitely also an infill strategy. So again, Dallas-Fort Worth example, we have 38 locations in Dallas-Fort Worth. Instead of cannibalizing those 38 locations, they can open up in the greater perimeter, because we have partners that want to keep growing, but they don't have the capacity to a multi-state operation. So that was the second question to be answered. The first question was kind of why was that outside market more profitable than, or potentially more profitable than an inside market? Oh, it was, I believe, 5%, and that was based off occupancy costs. So we roughly try to be about 10% of our unit volume and occupancy. We're finding in these small markets.
So you pick it up straight from real estate?
Yeah, real estate, and then a small amount on payroll too, because typically staff stores 4 to 6 employees. In a smaller market like Gainesville or wherever it may be, you could run off of 3 employees with that owner operator.
But the top line is correlated with the market.
Yeah, top line hasn't.
So I'm making more money as a percentage in Paris, Texas, but I'm not making more money.
Correct. Yeah, your revenue is pretty stable. What why it would be attractive for an investor is because your costs are just lower in those markets. So there's not one particular thing that we're going to go into a small market that's going to be like the wow factor and do $2 million in sales and double the AUV. It's just pure off cost savings.
Charles, Kowanetz.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Your differentiator is your parent company. Absolutely. I would be screaming that to the rooftops. Your parent company allows you to do the telehealth that mom and pop certainly can't do. It allows you to do that incredible inventory coverage where the Z doesn't pay for it till it's sold. That's huge. And it's got the call center handling the headaches that no Z wants to handle and would be too expensive to handle at a local level. Those are huge differentiators. How are you standing on the multi-unit then? I would think the guys with the money that get it, because you're a 300 all in?
All in about 450.
Okay.
Yeah.
So $2 million, you got 5 locations with a little bit of volume discounts, right? So are you doing much multi-volume yet? Multi-unit, sorry?
Most of our franchisees in more than one location. We only have about, I think, two franchisees at this point that are single unit. And I will say, to that point, the reason why multi-unit for us is pretty attractive, it is a brick and mortar retail type of model that does not necessarily need to be owner operator ran. Most of our franchisees, they're not buying themselves a 40-hour-a-week job selling glasses. We can find really good retail operating managers from various backgrounds. A lot in the optical industry, there's a ton of competitors. So for us to come into town and take a lens crafter's general manager and pay them a little bit more, it's attractive to that individual. But so our multi-unit franchisees, they leverage that. To your point, our parent company, we privately held, founder ran, still very active founder. We have two brands, Stanton Optical and EyeLab. EyeLab's our only franchise brand. It's a little bit of a different concept. In our industry, it's really common for a parent company to own multiple retail. For instance, Luxottica, they own Pearl Vision. They also own LensCrafters, and they own probably a number of different brands that you've all heard of. They own every aspect of the supply chain, and we're no different. So with us owning every aspect of the supply chain, we're able to leverage the scale of economies, go out to our vendors in China and Taiwan and every place that makes the plastic frames and et cetera. And we're able to have a 250 store portfolio that we're buying on, and our franchisees just benefit from a very simple operation. We've taken all the clinical and technical sides of the business out of the business, which is a lot more complicated, and left the retail side. So our operators are retail franchisees.
Your value brand.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, both are essentially value brands, but EyeLab is a little bit more streamlined and less payroll and telehealth focused.
You get Z's from that own the other brands. I've got 8 batteries plus. I want to diversify. Let's go EyeLab. Is that part of your strategy?
So what we found over the years, we have a lot in common. Our franchisees have a lot more in common than they think. So a lot of our franchisees came from the cell phone industry. There's a lot of comparables. I mean, one of our partners in San Antonio, Texas, he owns 9 locations and building another to be open next week. He had, I think, 35 Metro PCSs at one point, and it's very comparable retail model. It's a little bit more of an expensive purchase, so their customer are definitely value driven, and they're not used to, once a week going in and buying an $800 phone. It's typically a 1 to 2 year transaction. Same thing with glasses. You're only buying your product once a year if you have insurance, and once every other year if you don't. And we're in the value space, which not a lot of our customers have insurance. So that partner, it translates really well. We also see a lot of our franchisees coming from food and beverage. There's a lot of headaches in the fast food and QSR business, such as employee retention, very slim margins, cash flow. A lot of the times your terms, if you're buying product and inventory and you have to sell the pizza or sell the sub or whatever it may be, with us, it's a good cash flow model. That franchisee's not buying a single thing of inventory until the product has been sold. So we see a lot of our partners coming from QSR.
Where are you finding your franchisees?
Well, not only IFPG, but we do a really good digital strategy right now where, just Google, all our SEO, PPC. Half of our development is existing franchisees. Especially in 2020, we sold 63 locations from June to December of 2020. And more than half of them were existing franchisees just doubling down and buying back into the system. We're really fortunate. It's about $500,000, let's just say roughly, to open up a EyeLab if you're stroking a check and doing it cash. But we're fortunate to be SBA approved, and a lot of banks really love our concept. So if you come in with $150,000 and you're doing average unit volume a little under 1.1 million, and so a 1 year cash on cash return if you're looking at that.
Now, if I understood correctly, you have the system where I can have my eye exam remotely or not have an actual doctor doing it, correct?
Correct.
How do you manage that between franchisor and franchisee with any liability in this process?
Great question. So in many, many states, I'll give you guys a little background very briefly on optical laws. In many states, there's something called a two-door rule, which essentially states that the owner of the retail side of the business can't also be the owner of the provider side of the business, or the clinical side. So we as a company, we own the doctor network. We own the clinical side, right? So we hire the optometrists, we control that whole process, and it's essentially a tool for our franchisees to be able to sell glasses. So it removes 100% of the liability from that franchisee. They're not buying any malpractice insurance. They're not interviewing doctors. They don't even know a darn thing about how the eye works. We obviously train them on all that, but we're really focused on the retail side of the business. So customer comes in, they utilize our technology and our systems to get an accurate eye exam. Our doctor network is writing every single prescription, gets emailed back to the store and printed out and handed to the customer while they're shopping for glasses. And it's up to the store employees to then sell the glasses, upsell. That's really where the money's made.
The franchisee isn't making money off exams. All that goes into the
Yeah, pretty much not. So if someone does come into the store and just wants an exam, we charge them for the exam, and that franchisee can make a little bit of money, but it's really a tool to be able to sell glasses.
Charles, how concerned is my EyeLab with the Amazon effect or the Warby Parkers of the world that seem to just be killing it as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. Warby Parker's interesting, and I get that question from prospects all the time. How is Warby Parker and online sales and Amazon, et cetera, how are they affecting your business? And there's always going to be that cannibalization of people taking away from retail. It's just understood, right? Warby Parker itself is a very similar price point as us. We're a value player, and no shame in the game. We want to serve people that can't afford LensCrafters or can't afford Pearl Vision or can't afford any of these major competitors. Warby Parker is a similar price point, but they do market themselves as higher millennial, more disposable. Yeah, more disposable income. If they're going to do a retail footing, they'll go into the same mall that'll have like a Tesla dealer. Yeah, that's not us. Like I want to be across the street from a Walmart and a Taco Bell because that's our customer. So it's a good. Doesn't really affect our business. The Warby Parker the model. The online component has on the retail side, but to buy glasses you need an active prescription, and to get an active prescription as it stands, you need to go into a brick and mortar store. So the technology has not yet completely remove the need for in-store. And I don't think it ever will, because optometrists, they still want jobs. So each state is going to fight for, the optometrists to be able to keep their jobs and keep, delivering eye exams in a store rather than finding a technology to be able to do it from your couch.
All right, guys, so super impressive. Love you guys. Thank you for sharing. Very well, very prepared. You answered every question incredibly, authentically, and very well versed in your brands. Obviously, you're living it. You love what you do. I think we should give them a little round of applause. And that will also wake you up. Okay. One Cannabis killed it. Obviously, Unity Road. Good catch. That's their old name. Unity Road killed it. You're innovating in the franchise space. You're really leading and you got a long-term strategy that's obviously going to be successful. We were all impressed, and we were trying to figure out how we could rally up $1 million to buy one. So super impressive. My EyeLab, same thing. Leading, so unique, parent company with so many benefits that nobody can touch. It's obvious you're going to continue to grow and grow. Strategy strong, leadership strong with you, Charles, and the team. So again, super impressed with everything we saw there. Where we saw the biggest innovation, and it was unanimous from the start, was with HTeaO. Now, HTeaO truly showed 3 distinct innovations with the mini gallon. Oh my gosh, what a name. You didn't call it quart, you called it mini gallon. I love that. So it's kind of like all the ice cream manufacturers have their gallon, but it's not really a gallon, except for Bluebell. Amen. And then you've got the other innovations with the 51-ouncer. Do you sell beer? Oh, okay, but just the innovations y'all came up with were super impressive. We all also would encourage you just to be careful. You are in this weird anomaly space of somehow you can do no wrong, and that will end. And it will hurt bad when it does, because you'll be humbled. You're very humble now, don't get me wrong, but the idea of, we have no item 19, we don't need it, we got people lining up, buying left and right, and we're going like crazy, and we got 300 that are trying to find space, and our EBITDAs are through the roof, and we're just, we're selling ice for $10, and I mean, it's just crazy. And it's a massive blessing, so just make hay while the sun shines, but also realize, keep an eye on, it's gonna change. So kudos to you guys.